Welcome to Pretty Blogs. Hello and welcome to Pretty Blogs. Thank you so much for stopping by. I just basically stepped into my apartment right now from the Japan Africa Business Forum 2014. The theme this year is succeeding in Africa, unlocking growth and opportunities. Succeeding in Africa, unlocking growth and opportunities. What can I say? This is a very good theme, and it comes right after the TICAD 5. TICAD, for some of you who don't know, TICAD is the Tokyo International Conference on African Development, which takes place every 5 years. And last year, what resulted from the TICAD 5 was the Yokohama Declaration, where a lot of pledges were made towards development in Africa by the Japanese government and Japanese companies, private sector and otherwise, because TICAD 5 was also a very open forum for exchange of business, of investment ideas and things of that nature. So right after a year later, we're having this Japan Africa Business Forum 2014 with this beautiful theme of succeeding in Africa, doing unleashing growth or unlocking growth and opportunities. And we are seeing, and we have seen, a lot of different representatives coming also in very large numbers from Africa, and those who are also based here, Japanese companies also coming, those who have invested in Africa actually coming forth as well to talk about what the risks are, to talk about what the challenges are, and also to talk about the opportunities that are available right now in the different African countries, where investors can actually come in and partner with different agencies, different countries, different governments, in order to bring about infrastructure development, to grow the agricultural sector, the mining sector, the health sector, and several other sectors basically that are available. So in a nutshell, there is opportunity in Africa. That window is open right now for investment in Africa, and this forum does recognize that. And not only that, but also there is need for Japan's presence within Africa. When you compare the Japan-Africa relationship and the the China-Africa relationship, you can see that it's not the same. China, is really present in Africa, but Japan is not as present as China is. And I'm not saying this to say there is some sort of a competition, but this is also very good for Africa to diversify the portfolio, and as far as developing partnerships beyond the West, and also beyond China, and seeing Japan as another great opportunity for partnership. So one of the key things that were repeatedly talked about today was the fact that there is need for a win-win partnership. Of course, most of these conferences would actually focus on that, like, hey, we want win-win. And also not only just win-win, but a win-win that is really premised on principles of reciprocity, meaning that we as in Africa are looking for a reciprocal relationship with Japan, not a situation where there is a master-slave sort of situation going on. So as to the extent of operationalizing these ideals goes, I'm not quite sure yet. There's still need for a lot more investigation into what really is happening on the ground beyond what is being spoken about in these forums. So it was really good to see the presence of Mr. Ibrahim Asani Mayaki, who is the CEO of NEPAD, Planning and Coordinating Agency, and he was there in his really good energy, giving us where the opportunities are and what is really going on in terms of infrastructure development, and I think he kind of set a really right tone for this year's business forum. I thought it was really good. He was giving us a very optimistic picture and message, and I think what tends to always to sometimes be the problem is that when the pendulum swings, and as far as Africa's growth is concerned and or development, when it's in the negative, it's really in the extreme negative, and when it's in the positive, it's like really in the extreme positive. So sometimes I just wonder, really, where is the reality? I mean, where's the balance? Where can we strike the balance? But he did actually mention that in as far as we have noticed growth in Africa, because let me just go back to this, because there is 17 of the top fastest growing countries of the last decade are actually in Africa. These are, you know, facts that are verifiable, and that in about 2020 Africa's revenue will grow by 1 trillion more than today, and the rate of return on foreign investment in Africa is higher than any other developing region, which is really, really awesome for Africa, which means that, hey, come on do business with Africa, you know. And that the number of households with discretionary income is projected to rise by 50% over the next 10 years, reaching 128 million. And by 2030, the continent's top 18 cities could have a combined spending power of 1.3 trillion. These numbers are really good. I mean, really good. You know, they provide a fair basis from which we can ascribe this optimism that, you know, you could see coming out of, you know, the different agencies that were there. There was SADC, there different regions, these different RECs, Regional Economic Committees of Africa, represented there. McKinsey was, you know, there today. You have Ernst & Young represented there. You have the Ministry of Foreign Affairs represented there. The African Development Bank, by the way, which also co-organized the event together with JETRO as well as JICA, were also there, also giving their bit in terms of what their observations are and what kind of research has been done. And so what came out rather strikingly was the fact that the Japanese investors still think and perceive Africa as high risk. And when I say Africa, I'm just using this loosely to just talk about the continent in general, not any specific country, because that's how the perception is actually formed. People on this side of the world are not thinking of Africa in terms of Botswana, South Africa, Somalia, Rwanda. For the most part, mostly you just think, okay, there's fire in Egypt, there's fire in Africa, there's, you know, girls have been captured in Nigeria, girls have been captured in Africa. You know, it's never really distinctively delineating, you know, the finer differences as to what exactly are we referring to when we say Africa. And that was also very evident in today's event, because you're seeing some representatives from Southern Africa, some coming from Ghana, Kenya. Everyone, when they speak of that case study, they tend to, you know, eventually come to that this is Africa. But in general, I'm very optimistic also about what I was seeing today. I think just the fact that, you know, there's a platform for dialogue, there's a platform to communicate some of the facts, to say, look, don't believe the hype that you hear in the media, or the lack of data that you don't have about where to invest and how to invest in certain places, to mean that these different countries are high risk. I think I just used Africa and I said different countries in the African region. So basically that's what I really mean. So yeah, it was awesome. So this first thing that we really were really drumming was that you can succeed in Africa. Yes, there are risks, but the returns are absolutely deliciously great, you know. So I think that's a great message for anybody who wants to do business with Africa and in Africa.